Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing? It's Steve. I'm here to give you another update on my continuing caregiver fight with our VA, and I wanted to bring up some points across the board. What I'm trying to do is share as much information as I can gather, and I'm utilizing on Twitter people who will tweet back or share information on what they're experiencing, on how I can correct my problem, or how to deal with the issue of who do I need to get to, those things. And it's been very helpful. I have been able to see what other people are doing, whether it be starting a congressional, whether it who to talk to. And it's still it is a fight, tooth and nail during this period of time. I can't tell you, which most of you probably can attest to, is that right now the unknown, the lack of information, no information at all on how we're going to actually be affected by this new grading system. All this stuff is going to be new. Uh, Fear of veterans. The fear of veterans is that they're going to drop on us the last minute on October the 1st and say, well, you've got to do a reassessment and you've got to get into the VA to get the reassessment. Those of having deal with the VA can understand that they don't do things overnight. They don't do things in a hurry, and so you're trying to be proactive on how to prevent this from happening. So your benefits don't start, your stipend doesn't stop, and you're trying to find out early so you can prepare. This, if you don't know what the VA Caregiver Program and what has happened, please look it up. I'll make more sense throughout the video, but so I had the same concerns. I have the same um, the same stress, the same, I don't know what you call this feeling. It's just like your hands are tied. You can't do anything. You want to go and initiate the process. You want to get this over with. However, what we've learned with the VA is that never is possible. They're going to haunt your lives forever. If you do get any benefit or anything from them, they are going to haunt you and basically make you feel, I just want to get off the program. Please let the VA just go away from me. And I have those feelings as well. I mean, how many of us go to the post office box and we look in there, there's a letter from the VA, and we're like, what the hell do they want now? You know, after also being held on the phone for hours trying to get somebody to answer the phone or somebody to get to answer your questions, and they have time to send you a damn letter. I don't get it. I watched the video with Combat Craig and yesterday, and I reposted that to Twitter. He's on top of this, and it makes me very proud that he's following along with it. And also, the next thing is that if you are on Twitter, please share this information, even if you don't. If you don't like it, or it don't pertain to you, or whatever, or you already know this information, or for whatever reason that you won't share it, just share it to or retweet it to another vet who may be struggling and may have some of these same questions. Many times, it means a lot to a veteran or a caregiver and say, well, you know what, I'm not the only one in this fight. I don't feel so alone. I There's other people that are waiting for this. So we'll start right here, and this is what I do know. Meg Kabat's name has come up through this whole process, and doing my research, I found out she is just a social worker. There is no doctorate behind her name. She doesn't hold a PhD. Hell, for all I know, I don't even know if she's got her GED. But anyway, she was responsible for setting up and maintaining the uh, the caregiver program. her vision, her whole nines or whatever. So what she's done in this period of time, which she's tried 3 times, and now she's doing it for the other third time now, and she's just purging the system. She's going through, she's just like, they don't, and she's having people that are actually sitting on a seat team who we don't know what their background is. We don't know what their expertise is. We don't know if they're psychiatrists, psychologists. We don't know, but they're making a decision whether a veteran should receive these benefits of a stipend for a caregiver to provide care for them when their primary physician and their psychological physician, they said, yeah, he could benefit, he could use a caregiver right now because he's going to go and he's not going to be able to perform in society without any kind of help. Now, this finding of health is rampant about what some people qualify for, and we've been fighting this. Who qualifies for? How disabled are you? Give me a percentage on how this. I don't know what that percentage is, because the fact is, all I know is what I can, what I can't do. A different person next to me may or can't do something else. So now you're just defining everybody in this one little pool of criteria that, as we have stated, and they have not, the caregiver program have not even taken in consideration is that it's stated not all wounds are visible. TBI is not visible unless you get to talking to the person or something. But if you know somebody with TBI, as I do, some days are good days, some days are bad days. You got to kind of test the water. Some days somebody has TBI, they're rambling on about something or whatever, and it's like, okay, today's a bad day, man. Let's don't talk about that. We'll move on or whatever. Same thing with people with PTSD. PTSD is like they say, well, it can be cured, it can be whatever. I'm going to tell you this right now. If you've had PTSD, and I suffer from chronic PTSD, and I will never, ever get over some of my triggers that I have. I never will. I'm reminded of that every night, every day. Sometimes I'll spur of the moment. I'll just freak. And then we make the correlation because I know me. I know the fact is that I know when I'm out of control. I know where I reach that point where I don't. Most of you guys are veterans, so I can talk freely. I hope. I don't give a shit. I don't give a rat's fucking ass. I am going to go show my ass. I am going to lose my shit. So some people, it's like, well, that's not even. No, you don't get it. It's very difficult to describe, and it's not always reacted in fear. Sometimes it's just I've had enough and I'm fighting everybody and God itself. But I'm not going to describe PTSD. But anyway, this gives you an example of invisible wounds that people have. You may have. In my case, I have a paralyzed sciatica. If I'm sitting down normally and I'm in a chair and I'm sitting, I'm good. Like I have my recliner here. I purchased this because of my back. But with my paralyzed sciatica, I can't turn all the way around this way or this way. So here's what makes it difficult. I can't wipe my ass. Shame to say it, but I had to come to that realization. I can't wipe my ass. I tried everything. I've tried putting the spool up here, putting the spool down here, whatever. But the fact of the matter is that I can tear the toilet paper off, but I can't get to my ass to wipe my ass. Now, is that disabled? I don't know. I guess to Meg Kabat and her cohorts that, you know what, you just sit in your shit all day. You just sit in your shit all day. And you're not disabled. Okay. So the fact is that they have no idea what your disability and how it affects your way of life because they don't live your way of life and they do not exactly understand where the difficulties that you have in certain areas. knees. I got osteoporosis in my knees. My knees are shot. Okay, my left knee is getting ready to blow out. It's like a flat tire that I just got this. It's getting ready to blow. Right knee. Some days I got good days, some days I got bad days. But my left knee is pretty much where I have to walk with a cane. The VA didn't provide me with a cane. I made one. But the fact is that I walk with my cane because it gives me stability, strengthens my left leg, and also in the times that I will just fall down when my knee goes out from underneath me, I'll fall down. When people ask, how does a cane help you during that? Well, because the fact is that I can grab that cane and hold it down on the ground and pull myself back up. Imagine doing that in your church parking lot. Won't be no question if I'm disabled then. But this is not about me. What I'm saying is that the point I'm making is that there are so many different there's so many different injuries that affect people different ways that you at least got to be open, and you can't put everybody in a cookie cutter. And this is what they've tried to do. They said they were expanding the program. They cut 90% of the program. A social worker did all this. Now, she didn't have help because guess who gave her that much? Guess who gave her that much authority? Congress. Billions of dollars. Okay, Miss Kabat, here is this amount of money. Go fix it. What happened? Well, I'll tell you what happened. Special interests, lobbyists, everybody got a hold of this money. It's like whenever they gave Meg Kabat all this money, they all lined up out of the door. All the lobbyists lined up out of the door. Oh, yeah, let's go get some of that money. Because she didn't know what she was doing. They were bringing in programs that will benefit the veteran, but it doesn't look across the board. Let me give you an example. A couple of my buddies, they're missing limbs. And we grew up grew up around each other, whatever, and we always loved to ride horses. That was our thing about riding horses. We loved to get out, go ride horses, get away. Now, I would love to go do horseback riding now for my rehabilitation, but I can't. I can't step. I just can't ride. I can't ride anymore. All my buddies that used to ride with me had the same issue because the fact is they have limbs missing, and they don't feel comfortable getting on a horse and going horseback riding. They don't feel comfortable. Now they could overcome it, I guess, but the fact is that you want to put yourself at that risk. So that's just something I can't do. I still go out. We still go out to the barn. We'll still go out there, and we'll go to shows or go to rodeos or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, it's not a good idea for us to do that. They spend all this money on all these rehab sources, camping trips, and all this whatever, which is all well and good. But you got to take care of the basic needs of the veteran first. Let's get this taken care of first. Then we can have other organizations come in and enhance the disability, your operation of being a disability. We're not talking about that. What we're talking about is basic, individual, everyday care. Care to make sure the veteran gets through their 24-hour day period and is able to function in public or in the community and have some kind of quality of life. That's all we're talking about here. We don't want fishing trips. We don't want fishing trips. We don't want to go around learn horseback riding. We don't want to go ride motorcycles. We don't want to. All those things are well and good and they're fine. However, the fact is that that's not where our core concern is. I have heard horror stories since I started following this case. Van Arbor, Michigan is, I don't know. I don't like to point out people who answer because I don't like to do that. I like to drop names or anyway, but just to hear the news that is coming out of Van Arbor, Michigan pisses me off, and I don't even live in Michigan. But see, this is kind of my point because If we share these kind of stories, that we share what's going on, and we give updated information, we're beating the VA because they want to keep this information away from us. Right now, we still got we still got questions out there about, okay, what is the new criteria? When are we gonna know when we're what do we have to do to be reassessed? What do we have to do to go through the process so we don't get left behind because of your inability to roll out the proper information at the right time or in a timely fashion? That's what we're all scared of. Not caught with our pants down. We also have now through the new machines where you go in and you have your ID card. You know, when you go in and you have a kiosk there or whatever, supposedly that information is supposed to be updated instantly. So if you go to a clinic that is not in your not normally in your area, say for example, if I go down to Houston, I don't like go regularly go to. There's a reason why, because the Houston sucks. Okay, you can't possibly get out of the Houston VA without wanting to lose your shit. Because the fact is, they don't give a rat's ass about you at all. They just worry about 5 o'clock and payday. That's it. And they'll damn sure make sure you know of it. I think maybe, I'm making a joke here. I think maybe the prerequisite for working at the VA is that you have to have previous experience at the DMV. That's the kind of people we're dealing with. But I'm supposed to, that's information supposed to transfer immediately or whatever to update my records. So in other words, if I see a clinic down in Houston, it's transferred up here to Lufkin. So the next time I see my primary care physician, then she's updated. So, oh, you went to the Houston VA. Here's what they said. Here's the notes or whatever. It's not happening. They've had to admit started yesterday, came out because I've been paying so much attention to Uvalde, but came out yesterday. They're now having to admit, well, the information that's transferred, this new system that we spent all this money on, is erroneous. It's irrelevant. It doesn't pertain. For us, it's not enough for us to make a decision whether we cancel your caregiver or not. So if we know the information, and Combat Craig said it yesterday too, that he's not the only one who has called errors, gross errors, opinions put into your file just because they don't like you, just because the fact is that I'll show him, write up a negative statement. In my case, my psychiatrist, I had to go to her because I was being dropped off the program back in 2016. And I said, what the hell? She goes, I didn't write this letter. I'm like, ma'am, I said, they said you wrote this letter and I'm coming back to find out, do I need to be reassessed? Can we talk about this? Can we go through this? Because I don't believe I've made any. She goes, Mr. Dubos, I didn't write that letter. I still was skeptical. I was like, well, okay, all right, but you know, you don't have to tell me or whatever. But she was animal. She got pissed. She called Houston right there that day in front of me. Come to find out, the date that was on that letter that was actually they considered at the C team was she took 2 weeks off. It was during the time she was on vacation. She never would have known about it. I had to file a congressional at that particular time against the Houston VA. My representative was Mr. John Cornyn. He helped me out. His secretary was really nice. She called me back, told me, and they found the error. The person who, I don't know the whole story because I'll never know the whole story, but the person who actually was taking care of my files was actually not fired. She was transferred to another department. So when you go to the VA, and you working at the VA, there is no excellence. There is no sense of you're better than everybody else. All it is, the fact is that you really understand real quick, it's a big game. You're not a part of it. All you got to do is go in there, pretend to go to work, treat veterans like shit, If they piss you off, make up something, put in their file so they'll pay for it later. This is what the seat team has to go off of. In other words, if I was a member of a seat team and I got a file, I would automatically, knowing what I know now, I would look at it and say, how much of this shit in here is true? Is it up to date? I'd call their damn doctors personally and talk to them to come to the realization of that, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. I wouldn't take people's word for it, because the fact is that I still believe, and I really honestly hope that this is true, because HIPAA violations occur every day at the VA. People say, well, when you sign over that form, you're authorizing the VA to look through all your records. No, it's not. Because here's the example. Just because I sign off on a doctor saying you can actually have access to my records for my blood, all this kind of crap, whatever, it doesn't include my psych evaluations. As we have now witnessed on these 90% of individuals who have been discharged, I got a letter that they're going to be discharged from the caregiver program. We have noticed there's no psychological numbers in there considered whatsoever. None. Give me an example. I'm 100% PTSD. I'm like 100. I'm like 85 to 90 regular disability. Then I've got 100% disability over. So in other words, I'm looking like 180% disability, even though it doesn't exist. But I'm adding up them doing the math like the VA does. But they count it separately. So if you're 100% PTSD or TBI, you can have 100% and still disqualify for a caregiver program or other benefits that you need 70% or above. This is not like okay, we give you benefit. No, you have to rely on a scale that the doctors are making up and how they interpret it that day to find out what you're graded as far as benefits of what you can have and what you can't have. And it does not take in consideration how bad those wounds are, those scars, wounds, or whatever you've achieved in combat. And at no time during your lifetime will it ever utilize the information that it's making it worse. For example, my back, it's never going to get any better. I have not been optioned to get a back surgery. I have not even had the option of doing so. No one's ever asked me. They just told me it's not going to get any better. I have the date, time of the injury. I have it all in my records. I have discussed it multiple times with many doctors, from Madigan all the way down to Houston, Texas. And everybody knows about this because it's pretty evident. But it's never going to get any better. But they think that it is. They tell me that I'm graduated from the program. Graduated how? Can I function any better when my physical wounds and my psychological wounds get worse daily? Did they just make up a magic pill? Did Meg Kabat come up something in her social worker class to figure this shit out? She ought to win a Nobel Prize then. I am in agreement with a lot of people on Twitter who say this. They say, you know what? They just need to dismantle the entire VA. Agreed. But also what needs to happen is the fact is that Congress should be fully aware of this, because Congress has done one thing. Okay, we'll hire these people and they handle it. We'll throw a bunch of money at it. They'll handle it. And that keeps happening over and over and over and over again. It never is handled. But now you can bet your ass that these veteran service organizations, they get their cut, they get their piece of the pie. Yes, all these billions of dollars that United American taxpayers are putting for our health benefits that we have earned and should be going to us is going to congressmen who deviate out of, and the VSOs and upper management. Meg Kabat get a bonus. I bet you she's the richest social worker in the world right now because she got a bonus for making stupid shit up. She got a bonus just by actually thinking, just by putting down on the numbers that everything was going great until it caught up to her. And the fact is now the system she put in place where she was making her big bonus or other individuals are making all this money off of, taking it right from your taxpayer money to the Congress, issuing it out to these people. Boom, it disappears. The veteran ain't getting that, people. VSOs are. And I wonder on these seat teams that they have, the people who are making decisions on whether you get these benefits or not. Do you think maybe there might be a little kickback to them from a VSO or a lobbyist who's saying, you know what, you keep kicking them out, you keep doing what we want you to do. There'll be a little money in it for you on the other side. But the trick is we got to keep making our numbers look good so Congress will keep giving us the money. Damn if they didn't get caught. All this is probably inexplainable, or people are like, that I talk to are just, they're all concerned about their individual case. And I rightly so, but they're concerned about their individual, and they're not seeing the big picture of what's actually happened to the entire vet world and how greed has taken our benefits away from us. Greed by these VSOs, Meg Kabat, anybody who works between Congress and the VSOs, they're all taking money. That money goes away. It's less money to spend on benefits. Guess what? They cut people off the program so they can still make them bonus. it's democracy in action. I believe that Meg Kabat should be held personally responsible, and I believe she should be held to the fire. I believe she should go in front of Congress, and I believe that she should stop giving bullshit answers. I think she should go under oath and start telling us what and how she spent this money. And it wouldn't be no plea deal. None of that. Start dropping names, who was the ones who got paid, and who participated in this type of action. Now, we'll never get that. We can't put Hillary in jail. And this investigation would go on and on and on and on. And the reason why is because the fact is there's too much money at stake. These VSOs have too much money to make. And they have spent many, many bucks covering their asses. And that's what a veteran is fighting today. That is the unknown enemy that we fight today. And it's all greed oriented. It's all from taking money that should be spent on on American veterans, for their caregivers, that money should be spent on caregivers and to benefit the veteran directly to where they can maintain a quality of life. Maybe not the quality of life that they were used to before they were injured, but as close as they can get to it. This was promised to us. Every administration who has come through will always support that message. But now, have they done so? Have they enacted on that? No. I'll tell you a quick story, and the reason why I'll tell you this is because the fact is, this is what it takes. Back in 1976, I met a gentleman. He was very pivotal in me being throughout the Corps and everything, and I met him later in life. But he was a Vietnam veteran, and he was receiving care at Los Angeles VA down there off Inglewood. It's in Inglewood, California. And him and his buddies were participating in programs. They were going to groups. They were doing things, or whatever. And he had a problem. He had a problem with drug addiction, and he had a problem of drug addiction mostly. But he drank too much too because they didn't know it then, but it was PTSD. They didn't say nothing about it. But anyway, he was having problems getting help from the VA. They kept putting him off, kept putting him off, kept putting him off. And then there was like a few other veteran friends of his. I think he said there was 6 other friends of his or whatever. They got pissed off and took over the VA hospital in England. I'm talking about shut it down. I mean, veterans took over the hospital, took it over. There was a bargaining going back and forth because they took hostages. At this point in time, these veterans didn't give a shit. They had just went back into combat mode, and you know what? We were the enemy. VA was the enemy, and anybody else that raised up in between. Oh, they were gung ho, man. Luckily, there was a psychologist that was there, and he was assigned to actually negotiate with this veteran. He came up to the 3rd floor and met with this veteran by himself, nobody else. Said, well, what are the problems we need to address first? They started talking. Psychiatrist started writing. The psychiatrist went down after 3 hours later. He went down and said, stand down. Tell your people to go home. He's coming out. And he said, there's not going to be any charges filed against any of these veterans. Took some wrangling or whatever, but they released all the hostages, gave the hospital back to the VA. And the VA in Inglewood, California started working on these changes, and they started making progress. And there was an open line of communications between the psychiatrist and this gentleman and all the vets that were there that day. He took them all on as patients. This individual went on to start running it through the VA funded, started to run one of the best drug rehab centers that the Veterans Administration has ever seen. He was there at California. He had his office in California. However, the fact is rehab centers throughout the country started to model themselves after this gentleman and what the veterans started there that day. It was all because of communication. So I don't know where we go from here. I would like to think that we could start a discussion. But my point here was being is that it took a bunch of veterans sticking up together and saying, no, it's not just one person experiencing this shit. It's all of us experiencing this shit. All of this is changing, all of this, and making Congress listen. Making them listen. If we do not establish that fact right now for our congressmen and our elected officials to listen to veterans and stop putting band-aids on situations as they occur, oh, okay, that fixed it. You're never going to hear the entire world. They need to correct the problem and the people to have working at the VA, and they need to earn the trust back to veterans. If not, the VA is just going to be one of the major expenditures that accomplishes nothing that it has all the way through since World War I. It hasn't done anything for veterans. Well, we know how things used to be, bad they used to be back in the 60s and the 70s. And we've worked very hard to get to where we're at today. But now we have another group of individuals who see the VA as a way to make money and to pad their pockets instead of actually helping the veteran. So I believe that it's going to take a united front. I believe that all veterans have to actually share their stories. We have to start sharing information. The biggest way that the VA will fight you is the fact is that they'll send out a memo here to this VA, but this VA won't get it or whatever. It's disinformation. If we all work together and if we all work together and we get the right information, then we can not only fight the battle here in Houston, but also in Van Arbor, also in Pittsburgh, also in Los Angeles. All these places where we're all having the same problems, and we think it needs to be fixed here. No, it needs to be fixed across the board. We have midterms coming up. I am, as a veteran, I am looking. People that I voted for in the past said they're going to help veterans. It's showtime right now. You need to put me a plan of action. You need to address this in your campaign. I don't really give a shit what else you can address right now because this is important to me and my welfare and my quality of life. So I need to address this now, and I need to know how you feel about it. Are you in or are you out? Because I will not vote for another congressman or a president who is going to allow this type of situation to happen again. The buck stops here. It has to, guys. The government doesn't realize this is going to affect it across the board. Recruitment. How many sons and daughters are growing up with a disabled veteran and seeing how the Veterans Administration is treating their father or their mother? Because I ain't going to do that. No, I ain't going in. For the mere fact is, you know what? If I do get hurt, this is what I got to go through too. How many of our sons and daughters are actually caregivers now? Because the fact is that, you know what? If you take the stipend away, then mom has to stay home. Stay home with the veteran. So guess what? The veteran has to suffer. And as soon as the kids come home from school, they got to take care of mom or dad. Because the problem doesn't go away. Just because you say that we've graduated everybody doesn't make it so. And that is the whole shame about this whole situation. Is the fact is that our government can get away doing this with the most prized possession that we have in the world today, which is our veterans. We decided that we decided we're going to go to theater. If they ask Don and me, then guess what? Hey, I'm willing to pay that price. And they make a contract with you and say, you know what, if you get hurt, whatever, we'll take care of you, maintain your quality of care when you get home. He said, we'll make that deal. Signed, shook hand, saluted on it, raised their right hand to it. They hold us accountable to it. We just last Memorial Day, those individuals who raised their right hand, they didn't get to come home. But now you're messing with veterans' rights, and what else is next? I don't know. But what I can say is that we need, as a group of veterans, to determine, do we start a lawsuit now? My answer is yes. We should start filing a Class A lawsuit right now against Meg Kabat. We could start a petition, online petitions, and we can send it to our congressman. We get people's names, numbers, and addresses, whatever, and we can send it directly to the Senate. But the first problem of solving a problem is recognizing you have the problem. And Meg Kabat is the problem right here. And she has created an atmosphere to where there is no more trust between the VA and the veteran. Let me see how I can explain this to you. Maybe you understand. Let's say, for example, you get a bunch of people, and you say, "Okay, are you willing to die and serve? Are you willing to serve your country?" Yeah, I will. Even if dying's ass could be, yes, sir. I promise I will. So, American people rely on that. They take you at your word, and we know that happens because the fact is of our Memorial Day that we just went through. And thanked everybody, and we remembered everybody that went before us. But let me tell you what you're going to get, American people. You're going to get a bunch of people who are going to raise their right hand. And when it comes time for us to go, whenever we get ordered to go into combat or whatever, guess what? We're going to end up like them 19 officers were at Uvalde, just standing back and waiting for somebody else to do something. This is now when you not only get to pay back, but you understand the whole mentality of the military and serving a country and actually protecting a country. And we're not doing so. I don't know what's going to happen between now and October. Every day, my PTSD level is right here. I don't know. I went through 3 psychologists. All of them been promoted. Now I'm doing it by telehealth on a computer. They don't really ask me any questions. If things getting better, getting worse, you know what? Hey, all they ask me is, is medication still okay? Still working medication? You still taking your medication? Yeah. Okay. That's all I can do for you. Got 30 minutes in, 30 minutes out. That's the given time that any physician at VA has to take with you. They're scheduled every 30 minutes. They have to see a new patient. And they're rewarded for that. They're rewarded just for doing a regular job. Primary care physician here in Lufkin can't keep one. I had a physician's assistant when I first got down here for 2 years. That's who gave me that's who prepared all my tests and said I needed to go with this or whatever. Physician's assistant. I didn't have primary care. So tell me how I let you down. I drive 3 hours to Houston for a freaking medical appointment that I tell you with PTSD I can barely take. And my sciatic is hurting like a son of a gun. It takes me, when I go down there, it takes me like 30 minutes to get out of the truck because I'm all stoved up. Let's talk about walking. But that's my own personal war, and that's my own personal thing. And I hate to keep going that, but the reason why I keep bringing up my issues is because I know that there are others out there that have their own issues too. The veterans that have their own issues too. That the fact is that, you know what? I don't know every day what that veteran has to go through. I don't know what because I don't live with him, but I don't know what he can and what he can't do. I can't judge what he can or can't do because some days are better than others. Some days are worse than others. And being a caregiver means you understand that veteran from the time they wake up in the morning to the time they go to bed at night. You have seen these signs. You have seen all these things with your veteran, so you know how he's feeling without him having to say something, because the veterans are the hard-headed son bitches there in the world. They don't want to admit they're hurt. Or they can do it. Let me do it. And this mentality that we have has put us in this position because the fact is that we don't complain. We don't complain. We don't tell anybody how we're truly feeling. We hide all that emotion inside because we don't want nobody to know that we're hurt. We don't want nobody to know that we're broke a little bit. We don't want anybody to look down upon us, because the fact is that we've always been able to rise to the occasion and do whatever it is, whether it's pass a PT test or it's climbing up that damn hill in Afghanistan or sweating your ass off in Iraq. We found a way to get it done. Hurt then, hurts now, hurts all the time. But I believe, and I believe this in my heart, that a veteran that had to go through all of these things that he experienced in military service, I would think now, since he's done all he can do for the military and his country, I believe that some guy has a right to a quality of life where he can actually forget about for a second that he doesn't have a leg. Forget about his sciatica hurt. Forget about that he doesn't have an arm. Forget about the fact is that he has things going through his head and he can't sleep. And has just a period of day where he can actually enjoy the quality of life. It's like, thank you, Lord, for letting me come back. And give that opportunity to that individual without the fear of having everything taken away from you. Things that you have earned. And you got to keep qualifying for over and over. I know what you're saying. You don't get it. It's like, you know what? I was on the program. I started in 2009. Everything that I have on me that hurts worse now. It's getting worse. They're telling me I'm in that stage now. They're telling me, well, you know, there's really nothing we can do about it. So I got to find out how to way to deal with that or whatever. And then I've got to deal with the proposition of them taking shit away from me and telling me that I got better. Makes no sense, does it? And Congress buys off on this shit. So does Meg Kabat. I will be the first proponent, and I will support anybody or actually find a way to put her in front of a congressional hearing. And I want her tried, and I want her to put on trial, and I want her to talk and tell how this all transpired so it doesn't happen again. But more often than that, I want her to serve time in jail because she was vindictive and she did it on purpose. She hurt wounded soldiers, sailors, Marines, Coast Guard, Air Force. She hurt all of us to put money in her pocket while we experienced the pain and she experienced the bonuses. There's something fundamentally wrong with that. And if anybody can't see that, I give up trying to defend America. Meg Kabat is now the representative we look for at the VA. A social worker who they put in charge of the entire caregiver program of the United States. She's going to work now for Atlas. The reason why she's going to work for Ashland, I don't know what should be. I don't know what her position will hold or whatever. But anyway, she's still going to be making bonuses out of the recommendations that she put through Congress to cut the benefits, so there's more money to be spent on special interests, to VSOs, and to lobbyists, and her freaking bonus. So I'm sorry I ran over. I try to keep it to 30 minutes. I just can't do it. I'm a Marine, man. Give a Marine an open mic, and I'll be here all night. But I am asking, please. I don't have a lot of friends on Twitter. I don't have a lot of friends on Facebook. I'm not that kind of a guy. If you post something, I will repost it because I think it's not just because I'm trying to butter you up or anything. It's because the fact is that's another good point, and I'm posting all of what everybody's going through, or reposting or retweeting or whatever everybody's putting out there, because the fact is I truly believe that we have to have a united front. And the last thing I'll leave you with is, at some point in the next 30 days, we're all going to have to decide on how we're going to have to deal with this. I vote for a Class A lawsuit, or start naming names of lawyers. Please send me names of veteran approved lawyers that I could start working a case. I started working it with somebody, and I'm like, I got kind of cross. I haven't contacted them. They called me, but I haven't called them back. I had to get some paperwork together or whatever. So, but I'm kind of enticing everybody. I believe that we're going to need to, and you can make that decision on your own, but I believe that we're going to need to start filing lawsuits for them to act in a timely manner and to get Congress's attention. I think we need to make this a big deal. And the reason why I think we should make this a big deal is because if we don't correct it now, and we don't set a precedence, and we don't say, no, you just can't come on here and roll over us and take the taxpayers' money for your own personal gain. If we don't do that, then they're going to continue to do it again. I would hope to put a stop to them making money off of veterans. That's why I believe we need a lawsuit. But anyway, like I said, retweet it if you can. I'm not trying to get a bunch of followers or whatever. I'm just trying to start the conversation on why we're here on Hold Pattern. Is there something we could be doing, and why aren't we doing it? I think we should need to put more pressure on our congressman and on the caregiver program, and also the VA. That's my opinion. I'd like to see what everybody else's opinion is. Please hit me down in the comment section, or if you see me on Twitter, then hit me up there. But like I said, thank you guys for listening. Please retweet and share, and let's get the conversation going, guys.